She told me I wasn't needed at the wedding, so I sent flowers and a lawyer holding the name she forged on her invites. She took the venue. She took the spotlight, but I kept the truth and made sure everyone heard it quietly. It didn't hit me at first. I thought it was a mistake, an oversight, but it wasn't. She meant it. Every word, every omission, every empty space where my name used to be. They said it wasn't personal. They said be the bigger person. But I was done shrinking for people who built their stage on my silence. This time, I didn't argue. I let the paperwork speak. We used to match on purpose. Same hair ribbons, same nail polish. She liked copying me back then, and I thought it meant we were close. But somewhere along the way, the copying turned into taking, and the taking turned into pretending I was never there to begin with. It started small. My 6th grade essay got read at assembly. She told her class she helped write it. She got the new bike for her birthday. Mine came from a garage sale with one pedal missing. At family dinners, she'd interrupt. And every time I tried to finish a sentence, Dad would say, "Let your sister speak." Eventually, I stopped trying. I always thought if I just stayed kind, if I didn't cause trouble, they'd see me. Spoiler, they didn't. Chelsea was the firework. I was the candle. She burned bright. I burned steady. And they only ever looked up. She had boyfriends with expensive cars and flimsy promises. I had Ethan, soft-spoken, solid. He remembered what I ordered from the cafe even when I forgot. He called me bright before anyone else did. We got engaged under a cottonwood tree on a quiet afternoon. No photos, no announcement, just a moment that felt like ours. I started planning slowly. An intimate wedding, May 18th at the gallery where Ethan and I first met. We chose every detail ourselves, the color palette, the string quartet. I even asked a former student to design my dress. Olive branches stitched along the hemline. It wasn't big, it wasn't loud, but it was everything that felt like me. Then Chelsea called. She wanted to meet for coffee, just the two of us. That should have been the first red flag. She arrived late, dropped her phone twice, and then blurted it out. "I'm getting married too." I blinked. "Wow. When?" She grinned. "May 18th. My stomach dropped. That's my wedding date." She paused. "Oh, right. Well, ours is a bit more of a production. You could move yours. Yeah, maybe do the Sunday." I didn't speak. I couldn't. She just kept going. "Jasper's uncle got us the ballroom at Ridgeview. The media team's already booked. And Mom's helping with the seating chart. Oh, she said you're welcome to attend, of course, attend. As a guest. At someone else's wedding. On my day." I walked home in a fog. Surely Mom didn't know. Surely Dad would stop this. But they did know. They helped her plan it. Dad said, "Her wedding's more public, honey." "It makes more sense." Mom added, "Yours is more personal. You'll understand one day." Understand how it feels to be invisible in your own family. To watch your sister take everything with a smile and a hashtag. I stared at my calendar that night. May 18th, still circled in ink, but suddenly, meaningless. The next week, I found out she'd reached out to my florist, my seamstress. She was recreating my concept, just louder, flashier, more her, and no one stopped her. They just told me to be graceful, to let it go, to be the bigger person. I'd been the bigger person my entire life. I'd given her space credit attention. And now they wanted me to give her my name too, because that's when the final insult came. Her invitations, gold-trimmed, glossy, and right there on the return address, Chelsea Whitman. She'd never legally changed it. Dad never adopted her. She had no right to use that name. But that name, it was mine. And suddenly it felt like the last piece of myself I still had. So when the envelope came addressed to Avery Reed, my mother's maiden name, I knew exactly what they thought of me. Not as family, not as daughter, not as sister. Just someone optional. Someone they assumed would stay silent. But I'd been silent long enough. I didn't cry when I saw the invitation. I'd expected it her using my father's last name on gold-foiled stationery like it belonged to her. What I didn't expect was the silence from everyone else. No one asked me if I was okay. No one called to say this is too far. They just let it happen. And that silence, that collective shrug, hurt more than any invitation ever could. I went to my parents' house that Sunday, not to argue, just to ask. Did you know she used the Sagewind Gallery? I said quietly. Dad didn't look up from his coffee. She got there first. I had that date booked for 11 months. He shrugged. You didn't place the final deposit fast enough? I did. She offered more. She outbid me. Well, he said, folding his newspaper, it's better for the family. Her wedding's bigger. There's press coming. That gallery will look better in photos than your little ceremony, my little ceremony. Like the life I built was some side project. Like my wedding didn't deserve real walls or real light. Mom stood by the fridge peeling a label off a water bottle. It's just a venue, Avery. Don't ruin your relationship with your sister over this. I looked at her. She stole it. She's excited, she replied. Try to support her. Support her. After she took the date, the place, the name, after she invited me like a footnote, I wasn't even on the wedding site. No photo, no mention. Just a line at the bottom, Avery Reed attending with guest. Not family, not sister, not even Whitman. That night I sat alone in my apartment. The box with my dress was still under the window. The olive branches, hand-stitched at the hem, still folded in on themselves. I unzipped the bag slowly, ran my hand down the fabric, then zipped it closed. And I knew. The wedding I had planned didn't exist anymore. It had been taken, rebranded, consumed. Ethan came home late. He saw me sitting there, invitation in hand. He didn't say anything, just sat beside me and waited. She used Whitman, I whispered. She's never had the name legally, but she's using it like it's hers. On everything. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, then maybe it's time someone reminded her who it actually belongs to. I looked at him. I don't want to cause a scene. You won't, he said. You'll cause a shift. That's when it clicked. This wasn't about stopping her wedding. This wasn't even about saving mine. It was about reclaiming what was mine before she tried to wear it. The next day I pulled out every document I had. Birth certificate, legal name change paperwork, my father's signature on the acknowledgement of paternity form. And one more thing. A note from my grandmother tucked into an old birthday card. You carry the Whitman name with grace. Never let anyone make you feel borrowed. That was the moment everything changed. Not with a fight, not with a breakdown, just a quiet decision. I wasn't going to argue anymore. I wasn't going to beg to be included. If they didn't see me as a daughter, as a sister, as a Whitman, then I would show them what bearing that name really meant, and I would do it the only way they couldn't ignore legally. Grace Morton didn't flinch when I laid out the story. She was calm, dressed in slate gray with a voice that could slice through fog. Let me get this straight, she said, adjusting her glasses. She's using your legal family name for public promotion, on documents on sponsored content and in wedding publications without ever having changed it legally. I nodded. She was never adopted. My mom just gave it to her, verbally. Grace raised an eyebrow. Well, that's about to change. We filed a cease and desist the next day. It wasn't dramatic. No big announcement. Just a formal letter sent directly to Chelsea's PR agency brand partners and wedding venue politely requesting that she refrain from using the name Whitman in any commercial or promotional materials. It was quiet, elegant, binding. The reaction wasn't, Chelsea. Seriously, a lawyer. You're jealous because my wedding is bigger. I didn't respond. She wasn't used to being ignored. A day later, a package arrived at my office. No return label. Just my name written in strange handwriting. Inside was a flash drive, taped to the top. You should see what she says when no one's watching. It was from Jasper, Chelsea's fiancé. We hadn't spoken in months, but now, apparently, he had something to say. I messaged him. Why now? His reply came quickly. Because I was wrong about her, and you deserve to know. We met at a quiet cafe near campus. He looked exhausted. Not in a drama-seeking way, but like someone slowly waking up from a long lie. She told me you canceled your wedding, he began. Said you weren't emotionally stable enough to handle a big event. I stayed silent. She also said the name wasn't a big deal, that she'd earned it by being the more present daughter. That one made my stomach turn. Then he slid another flash drive across the table. I started recording her. I know it sounds insane, but... She kept lying. To me, to the planner, to the press. She said she was going to crush you quietly. I picked it up slowly. She has a second phone, he added. She hides it in her makeup drawer. I think she's still texting her ex. What do you want from me? I asked. Nothing, he said. I just want her to see what real consequences feel like. That night, Ethan and I watched the recordings. They weren't rage-filled. They weren't even shocking. Just calculated. Clips of Chelsea coaching her friend to fake a backstory about how she and Jasper met. Voice notes where she called me the family ghost. Screenshots of her messaging the gallery and offering a 40% bonus to bump my reservation. And then the one that stayed with me, she'll cave. She always does. She was never meant to carry that name. Ethan muted the video. I didn't speak for a long time. Then he said, "You ready to stop being erased?" I nodded. He made 3 phone calls the next morning, to an AV team, to his legal advisor, and to a woman named Margaret Yates. Margaret was the editor-in-chief of Modern Woman, a magazine Chelsea had tried to get featured in for 2 years. Ethan had worked with her on a project 5 years ago. He called in a favor. Our invitations went out that same week. Forest green envelopes, wax-sealed, no hashtag, just a date, May 18th, and a private link with 1-button RSVP to witness the truth. The RSVP site wasn't public, but it held a 6-minute reel, curated, polished, verified. Chelsea's words, her laughter, her plan, all tied neatly to the timeline of how she hijacked my wedding. And it didn't stop there. The gallery where she planned her photo shoot received a polite withdrawal request from the managing director. The vendor supplying her gowns removed her from their promotion campaign. And then came the email from a high-end skincare brand. Due to conflict over trademarked identity and ethical concerns, our partnership is suspended. Still, I said nothing. No posts, no comments. I just kept planning my wedding. Not to compete, but to claim. Because this time, I wasn't walking down the aisle wondering if I belonged. I was walking toward the future that had always had my name on it. May 18th came quietly. No banners, no countdowns, just the kind of stillness that feels earned. The sky above Sagewind was clear bright, like it had something to prove. Ethan stood outside the entrance, adjusting his cufflinks, calm as ever. I watched him from the bridal suite, not with nerves, but with clarity. People began arriving. Not influencers, not press, just people who mattered. Mentors, colleagues, friends who had stayed silent in rooms where my name had been dismissed and were now showing up present intentional. Then Margaret Yates walked in. Black dress, leather notebook. She nodded at me once and said, "No one tells this story better than truth." The ceremony began at 2:00 p.m. sharp, the same time Chelsea's wedding trailer was scheduled to drop. But mine was real. I wore the dress my student had made. Satin, no train, olive branches still embroidered at the hem. A symbol of peace, but also quiet resistance. The string quartet played something Ethan wrote. It rose slowly, almost hesitant until the final notes lifted like breath. We didn't need an officiant with a big voice, just a few words, and a choice. He chose me, and I chose myself finally fully. The guests applauded softly. There was no roar, just warmth, respect, witnessing. At the reception, Ethan raised his glass. He didn't speak long, just enough. My wife, he said, was told she wasn't needed, but she showed up anyway, with silence, with grace, and with the name that always belonged to her. He turned to me, and today we stop asking for space, we build it. Later that night, as the candles burned low and the last notes of music faded, a single notification lit up my phone. Chelsea, a 1-line text. "What did you do to Jasper?" I didn't reply. I didn't owe her that. Jasper made his own choice. He didn't leave because of what I did. He left because of what he saw. The next morning, a quiet post appeared on my feed. Talia Reid has gone private. Her brand accounts vanished. Partnerships quietly dissolved. The trailer never aired. She faded just like I was supposed to. Except I didn't. A week later, the university contacted me. They'd seen the wedding photos, the press feature, the quiet power, and how I handled it all. They offered me a new role, Director of Arts and Equity, with full creative freedom and a mentorship budget. I said yes. Not because I needed to prove anything, but because I was ready to build something for others like me, people who were once made to feel like a footnote, now writing their own stories. And this time, the byline is mine. Sometimes they don't need to scream to erase you. They just quietly move you to the sidelines until you start to believe that's where you belong. But here's the truth. You don't need their approval to take up space. You just need one moment of clarity. One moment when you stop shrinking and let the silence speak for itself. So tell me, have you ever realized that being excluded wasn't a punishment, but a doorway?